All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are diving deep into one of the biggest and frankly most dangerous traps in all of finance: complexity. And who better to guide us than the legend himself, Benjamin Graham? We're going to find out exactly why the most complicated ideas are often the absolute riskiest.
So let's just start with this question right here. You know when you hear about some new investment and it's just loaded with jargon and moving parts, does that signal a sophisticated opportunity? Or is complex just a code word for risky? That's exactly what we're digging into today.
And of course, this brings us to our guide, the father of value investing. Think of this quote as our North Star for this whole discussion. It's such a timeless warning, basically saying that every time a new layer of complexity gets added to an investment, your skepticism should go up a notch too. You gotta ask, what am I not seeing here?
So if complexity is so obviously dangerous, why do we keep falling for it? Well, it really comes down to our own psychology. We're kind of wired to be drawn to things that seem advanced or exclusive. And let me tell you, Wall Street knows this and is a master at playing on that tendency.
This slide just nails the mental blind spots we all have. We want to feel smart, right? We want to feel like we're in control of our finances. So we see something that's really complicated and our brain just makes this leap. It automatically confuses difficulty with superiority. But the trap, as Graham points out, is that we end up paying a huge premium for someone else's cleverness, not for what actually produces results. And this is the absolute key. Graham saw the financial world for what it is, a system that's almost always tilted to benefit the seller. New, complex products get cooked up way faster than any normal person can ever hope to understand them. And that gap between innovation and understanding, that's the sweet spot where they hide all the crazy risks and the high fees. Okay, so enough with the theory. Let's look at some real-world examples. We're going to take a quick tour of 3 kinds of complex investments that Graham specifically called out and warned people about. First up, these so-called hybrid securities like convertible bonds. They sell you this dream, right? The best of both worlds. You get the safety of a bond plus the growth of a stock. What could possibly go wrong? Well, the reality, as this shows, is you often end up with the worst of both worlds. The pricing is a total black box, the valuation is built on a house of cards, and you're left with an investment that combines the weaknesses of both. Next up, IPOs, initial public offerings. And this timeline, man, it just lays it out perfectly. You have to remember, companies don't go public to do you a favor. They go public when conditions are absolutely perfect for them, the sellers. They time it for when public hype is at a fever pitch, which, guess what, is almost always the absolute worst time for you, the buyer, to be getting in. So here is the bottom line. It doesn't matter if it's an IPO or a SPAC or whatever the latest hot new thing is. If you see it being promoted super aggressively, that's not a green light to buy. That's a giant flashing red light telling you to slow down. At that point, caution isn't just a good idea, it is absolutely mandatory. And finally, there are these things called structured products. Just look at how they're built. It's like a financial Rube Goldberg machine. They start with something simple, a basic bond. Then they start layering on all this hidden stuff, derivatives, options. They add these crazy, complicated rules for how you get paid. And then, for the final touch, they wrap it all up with a nice, reassuring name, like an enhanced or protected investment. It's designed to make you feel safe, not to make you understand. And this right here is Graham's simple, powerful defense against all of it. It's a test you can use for anything. If you can't sit down and explain to a friend, in plain English, exactly how this investment could lose you money, then you have no business owning it. End of story. Okay, so those individual products are traps. But now we gotta talk about the amplifier. The thing that takes a small mistake and turns it into a total catastrophic wipeout. We're talking about leverage. This is exactly why leverage is so terrifying for an intelligent investor. First, it blows up every single mistake you make. A small error in judgment becomes a massive loss. Second, it's the one thing that can force you to sell at the worst possible moment because of a margin call. And maybe worst of all, it takes a market dip that should be temporary and turns it into a permanent, you're never getting that money back, loss. And this one number tells the whole story. You use 2-to-1 leverage, and the market drops by half. You aren't down 50%. You are wiped out. Your loss is 100%. Your capital is gone. It's just brutal, unforgiving math. So here's the crucial point. Look, investing is always going to involve uncertainty.
That's just the name of the game. But what leverage does is it takes that normal, manageable uncertainty and it turns it into a potential catastrophe, a point of no return.
Okay, we've spent a lot of time on the dangers. So what's the solution? What's the antidote? For Graham, the ultimate defense wasn't about being some kind of genius who could figure out all the complexity. It was about one thing: having the discipline to embrace simplicity.
Now, Graham was smart. He knew not everyone invests the same way, so he broke it down. If you're a defensive investor, meaning your main job is just to avoid big mistakes, the rule is dead simple. You avoid all complex securities, no exceptions. But if you're an enterprising investor trying to beat the market, okay, maybe you can look at them. But, and this is a huge but, only if you understand it inside and out and you have a clear, obvious advantage. The bar is just ridiculously high. You really have to get this through your head. The market does not care how smart you look. It doesn't give you extra points for having a sophisticated portfolio. What it rewards is discipline, the boring, consistent, day in and day out application of a sound strategy. And this is where it all comes together beautifully. Insisting on simple, understandable investments isn't being naive or unsophisticated. That insistence on simplicity is your margin of safety. It's the protective moat you build around your portfolio to defend it from catastrophic error and the things you can't possibly predict. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this one question. This is the ultimate litmus test for any investment you ever consider, and you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Are you buying this because you truly understand it, or are you just crossing your fingers and hoping it'll work? And that brings us right back to where we started. This final piece of wisdom from Graham says it all. True intelligence in investing isn't about mastering complexity. It's about having the wisdom and the discipline to stick with the simple ideas you can genuinely understand. Thanks for joining me.